everyone. Okay, so we are up to Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the top, and a discussion here of whether the sukkah needs to have an eged bimino or not necessarily bimino, and whether, in particular, right now, whether a sukkah needs to be made only out of the daled minim or if it can be made out of any of the minim. So the Chen Be'ezra says the Gemara 3 lines from the top. Chen Be'ezra Omer pasuk from Ezra. Se'u hahar vehiliu alai zayis v'alei eitz shemen v'alei hadas v'alei tamar v'alei eitz avos la'aso sukkos. So the pasuk here says that Ezra should go ahead and bring all these different materials in order to make a sukkah. And obviously, alei zayis, alei eitz shemen, etc. These are not only materials of the daled minim, a proof that it can be made even from more than just the daled minim. Rabbi Yehuda Savar Hani Lidefanos. Yehuda says no. He says, what is it? What are all these different materials? Is it to make a sukkah? Yeah, to make a sukkah, but not the schach, only referring to the walls. Alei hadas, alei tamarim, alei it's avos l'schach. But only these alei hadas, tamarim, and it's avos, which are all under the categories of the daled minim. Those are the ones referring to the schach, and therefore it is not a proof. It's not. And the Mishnah states, Mesakhin bin Nisarin, Dibri Rabbi Yehuda, that Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that one can use Nisarin, different boards of different materials, even not the daled minim, for schach. Alma siv v'ikra dikla mina delula v'hushma mina, and that is a proof. The fact that it can be with other materials, that a siv and ikra dikla, that the shoots and roots of the palm tree are considered part of the min of the lulav itself, shma mina, that those could also be used, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, who requires the daled minim. Umi Amar Rabbi Yehuda Abbas minin in media three low. Is that really true that Rabbi Yehuda holds that one can only make a sukkah and make schach out of the daled minim, but nothing else? Tanya sikha bin nisar mishal erez sheyesh bohen daled tfachim. They very called psula. In daled tfachim Rabbi Meir posts Rabbi Yehuda mashir. So the Brisa states that if one uses these different boards of erez of cedar, which is not one of the daled minim, then it depends. If there are 4 tfachim, if there are 4 tfachim of them, then everyone's going to agree that it's possible. But in ben daled tfachim, but if there's boards of and that the fact that it has 4 tfachim has nothing to do with what material it is. You can't have a board more than 4 tfachim as part of the schach. So, but if it's less than 4 tfachim, and therefore it would otherwise be a kosher board to use for schach, but it's made out of cedar, would that work? So that's a machlokas. Rabbi Meir says no, it's possible because you can't use cedar. Rabbi Yehuda machshir, Yehuda says it would be kosher. So we see that Rabbi Meir excuse me, not because you can't use cedar, but because of the space that's required. Right, and Rabbi Meir says fine if there's enough room in between that you could put other stuff in, then it's going to be kosher. But the point for us is what Rabbi Yehuda is saying, that if there's a board of erez of cedar that is less than 4 tfachim, it can be used for schach. But that is not one of the 4 minim. So how can Rabbi Yehuda say that? So it must be that Rabbi Yehuda says that you can use more than 4 minim. So no, it says the Gemara, my erez, what does it mean? Cedar doesn't mean only cedar here. It means erez can also be used as a terminology for hadas, for which is one of course the daled minim. Kedarabba bar Rav Huna, Rabbi bar Rav Huna, Amri beirav asara mine arazim, because Yehuda beirav said that there are 10 types of erez, 10 types of cedar. Shenemar are 10 b'mid bar erez shita v'hadas v'gomer, as the pasuk in Yeshayahu says. Let's think off different types, categories under erez, and one of those is hadas. So we see that it's not a kasha on Rabbi Yehuda, and even Rabbi Yehuda can maintain his opinion. Okay. Rabbi Meir Omer afilu b'mishicha v'chulu. This is going back to the machlokas in the Mishnah as to whether lulav needs to be oged amino or even inomino. So Rabbi Meir is the one who said even if it doesn't need to be amino, you can use even a string. Tanya Rabbi Meir Ma'isa Akiri Yerushalayim, so you ogden as Lulavein Begimoni Yoshal Zahav. Right, the Mishnah, this already brought in the Mishnah, is repeating it now in the Brisa. This story with the precious ones of Yerushalayim, that would wrap their lulavim in golden wrappings. Amrulo. So they try bringing that as a raya, right? That look, you don't need it. You don't need it to be bimino. So unless you have a gold lulav, which would be another problem. Amrulo misham raya. So they say, no, that's not a raya, because what they would do is they would wrap it underneath bimino, and then on top they would make it look nice and put a golden wrapping. So Amalahu Rabba Lahinu Megadle Hoshana Debe Reish Galusa. So Rabba said to the people the gardeners who would plant the Hoshanos at the home of Reish Galusa, Galusa Hoshana Debe Reish Galusa, when they would grow them, Shairi Bay Basiat, leave a handle within the Hoshana itself. The way they would plant it, apparently they could do that to leave a handle so that they could hold the handle itself. So that there's not a chatzitza, but hold the Hoshana exactly, right? That Rava Amar Kolana also in the chotzetz. Rava says another rule that anything, so what you're going to hold the lulav with, if it is for the sake of beautifying the lulav, that it's not a chatzitza. If you recall, actually, this became a very big hullabaloo last year, right? That around Sukkot, right, with using gloves, right? So this is it's right. So that's the question. Can you wear gloves when taking a lulav? So this is the question of a chatzitza. What? Right. Good. Amar Rabba lo linkit inish oshana besudra the beino likichatama veleka. Now this is another concept which is certainly related to chatzitza, although likichatama might be a different concept, which there's a different. What's the nafkamina? Nafkamina would be, what if it's a partial chatzitza, right? What if I'm not wearing glove, but I have something else on my hand, or I have I have a band-aid or something, right? Or something smaller, right? So even less than a whole hand would be chatzitza. L'kichatam is another thing that I need to have my whole hand on it. So therefore you can't use Oshana Besudra to be in a l'kichatam, but you can't hold a handkerchief, hold a little hanky, right? And because that's not a l'kichatam. The Rava Amar l'kicha ayidei davar acher shma l'kicha, and Rava says that a l'kicha ayidei davar acher, by holding it through something else, is still called a l'kicha. Me'ikra din, that's how we rule. Although we do try to be machmir, not to the chatzitza. By the way, this also comes up for those of us that wear tefillin on Chol Hamoed. For those of us that wear tefillin on Chol Hamoed, the question is that a chatzitza? If I need to hold the lulav and or esrog with my hand that I have tefillin on, so okay, it's not practical. Why? Because on Chol Hamoed we take off our tefillin before, right? Oh, no. There you go. But okay, good. It also could depend on your lulav, right? Or if you forget to take off your lulav, your tefillin, right? Okay, good. But Amar Rava, mina aminala de lakicha aydi davar acher shma lakicha. How do you know that lakicha aydi davar acher is called a lakicha? It's not Ezov Kotzar. Now it brings a raya from the Paraduma, right? Ezov Kotzar misafko bechut. If you can't reach the mechatas with the short, if you have a particular, we know that to do the part of the process, you have to dip the cedar wood and in order to sprinkle it. So what happens if you have the mechatas in some form of kli, but you can't reach it with the piece of cedar wood you had? So what happens? So masabko bechut, you could add a string to the end of it. Uvekush v'tova umala v'oche is be'ezov umaze. Right, you can add these different materials to the end of it in order to be able to reach the water, and then bring it up and hold it and sprinkle it. So amai v'lokach v'tova l'marachmana. So how can you do that, right? If we're saying, right, so the pasuk says v'lokach v'tova, you need to take the azov and go ahead and be tovel the azov. So that's not tovel the azov. This is some other material. So we see that what? That's still called the kicha. It's picking it up, even though they did the marachah with another material that's extending it. It's still extending the azov itself, and that's still called that you're being lokeach as for azov, that you're still taking the azov itself. Mimai Dilma shiny hosim came into chabri gufe dami. So no, there maybe it's different. Why? Because you're extending the azov itself by attaching things together. But what if it's not attaching things together and you're just holding it by means of something else? So Elamei Hacha Nafal. So he said, fine. So we have a different raya also for Paraduma. Nafal Mishro Feris L'Shokes Puzzle. What happens if it simply fell from a tube into the pail? So that is puzzle. Pahi Piluhu Kosher. So that's the only puzzle. Why? Because Nafal, right? It was passive. It fell on its own from the tube, and it happened to fall out from the tube into the pail. But if you yourself take a separate tube, not the Ezel itself, and intentionally do it that way into the pail, so that it sounds like it would be kosher. So again, so same question. Pasuk says lak v'nasan. So we see that what? Lakicha. Ayidid davar acher is still called ilakicha. The Amar Rabba lo the Amar Rabba lo ladutz inish lulav behoshana. That Rabba now gives a separate piece of advice here. That one should not smash, right? One should not crush or force the lulav into the hoshana. The dilma, right? But when the hoshanas and the arab is already put together, to be careful not to put the lulav in. Why? The dilma not because maybe by doing so you'll rub it up against the hadas itself, and then there's going to be leaves that fall off, and there's going to be loose leaves which aren't part of the hadas itself, and that'll be a chatzitza. So says the Gemara, the Rava Amar, min b'mino eno chotzeis. So Rava said, no, it's not a problem because that's what Yahav's vort, right? Because Rava's apparently assuming that min b'mino would be chotzeis, but Rava says no. Even if leaves fall off, it's not a chatzitza because it's concept of min b'mino eno chotzeis, and Rava saves us because most of us, when we put our lulav together, at some point, at least some of the hadas or Rava's leaves, hopefully not so many, so that it's still kosher, but some of them, right, will fall off. So, maybe it would be chatzitza. So no, that's called mimimino, and therefore it's not chatzitza. The Amar Rabba, lo ligos inish lulav behoshana. One should not cut their lulav behoshana. The mishtari hotze v'havi chatzitza, because again, some of the leaves will fall off and remain behind if you cut it, and that would be a chatzitza. So same thing. Oh, Rabba Amar min b'mino eno chotzitza. It's not a problem because min b'mino is not a chatzitza. Okay, good. Another halacha. Amar Rabba. Another statement from Rabba in regards to dalan minin. Hadas shel mitzvah. Also a hariach. It says Rabba, a hadas that you are using for the mitzvah, it is forbidden to smell. On Yom Tov and Chol Hamoed, it's forbidden to smell. Esrog shel mitzvah, moter l'hariach, but esrog, it's moter. My time, what's the difference? Hadas de l'reicha kai, ki iktzia mereicha iktzia. Esrog de l'achila kai, ki iktzia me'achila iktzia. So what happens? We have a concept that's called huktzeh l'mitzvasa. And if you have something that is designated for a mitzvah, I am not allowed to go ahead and use that item for other hana'ah. It's muktzah, right? Just like we have muktzah on Shabbos. So I also have muktzah, something which is set aside specifically for mitzvah. I cannot use it for any other purpose. That purpose, that's only true for its primary purpose. So therefore, when it comes to hadas, and it comes to esrog, they have different primary purposes, right? When it comes to hadas, the primary purpose of a hadas, other than for the mitzvah, right? During the year, what's the primary purpose for hadas is it smells nice. Whereas in esrog, right, you have the famous Rebbetzin Kanievsky esrog jam, right? The ikar purpose. What? Okay, you'll explain later. You'll bring samples. Okay, so the esrog, right? The ikar purpose of the esrog is the first of the esrog is to eat it, right? And therefore, right, the taste more so than the smell. It smells nice also, but the main purpose is the taste, and therefore, when it's huktzeh l'mitzvah, so you can't use it for its primary purpose. So therefore, it's also to smell a hadas shel mitzvah because the primary purpose is to smell. But esrog shel mitzvah, its primary purpose is to eat. Otherwise, it's only huktzeh me'achila. One may not eat it, but one may smell it. However, the Amar Rabba hadas b'mechubar mutar l'hariach, esrog b'mechubar asur l'hariach. But now there's another law. So that was all assuming it was already detached, right? The difference between smelling a hadas and esrog shel mitzvah if it's already attached. But what about if they are still detached. What if they're still in the tree? They're still on the ground, right? They're still attached. So can I smell it? So so it says Rabbah, hadas. Right. This is on Shabbos. Yes, correct. This is on Shabbos, right? If right, Shabbos or Yom Tif, right? This not nothing to do with the concept of Huktzah Mitzvah, so but concept of Malacha, as we'll see. So a hadas that's attached on Shabbos or Yom Tif, you're allowed to smell, but an esrog, you're not allowed to smell if it's mechubar. Why? My timer. Hadas telahariach ka isharis la lo asilamigzia. Because again, the primary purpose for hadas is to smell it. So when it comes to smelling it while it's attached in the ground, what's the theoretical problem? Is that you may come to cut it, you may come to pluck it, right? But if the purpose is to smell it, so I can go to the ground and smell it, I'm not going to have that same temptation to pluck it out of the ground. Whereas a esrog, right? Esrog de la achila kai isharis like asilamigzia, right? Because an esrog, like you said, the main purpose is to eat it. So once I smell it, oh, it smells so delicious. Oh, Rashi here actually says that's the malacha, right? The Achronim asked that's a kasha, it's a shinui, right? Right. So okay, so that's a whole separate sugya, which I don't know well enough. But Rashi here says that, and the Achronim asked that. I can't answer it for you, but it's great. It's a great kasha, right? But so nonetheless, the purpose is esrog, right? Which you're going to eat it, so you're going to smell it, you're going to want to pluck it, and therefore you cannot even smell it. By the way, this is important l'maisa because flowers, right? Are you allowed to smell flowers on Shabbos? The answer is yes, because the main purpose is for smelling them, and we're not considering you to come and pluck them. So V'amar Rabbah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So in the I hear. So it could be if you enjoy the aesthetic aspect of it also, Lamaisa, then yeah. But okay, good. The Amar Rabbah, Lulav, the Yamin, the Esrog is small. So Rabbah says now another lacha, the Gabe, Lulav and Esrog, how to hold it. So Lulav should be in your right hand. Esrog should be in your left hand. Any lefties here? Any lefties? I'm a lefty. And every year I go through this. Oh, so that's a machlokas. If I were you, because I'm Sfaradi, then I would switch. Yes. But Ashkenazim make it difficult because machlokas mechaber rabah. Right. So it's a machlokas mechaber Ramah. Ramah says that you switch. So for those of us lefties, it's a tough spot. But Schechter actually has a chumrah that you do both before you pick it up. Before you for halal, right when you pick it up to make the bracha, you do both, and then you could fine. Yeah. The Amar Rabbi Levi small. My time, honey tilasa mitzvahs. My time? What's the reason that the lulav goes in the right and the esrog goes on the left? So, assuming for whatever reason the right is more chashuv, so why do we give the lulav the more chashuv hand? Honey tilasa mitzvahs v'hachada mitzvah. Okay, it's a math game, right? 3 versus 1. 3 is greater than 1, and therefore we're going to put the 3 in the right. Amar there b'yemir zrika. My time, okay, so. What about the fact that we only make the bracha on Tfilas Lulav? What do you mean? It's also on Tfilas Lulav, Hadassah, Rabbah, and Esrog, right? So why do we call it Lulav? Hoel Vigavoa Mikulan, right? Since it's the tallest, right? This is one thing I had going for me my life. I was always the cool kid because I was taller. No, V'lig Bahia LeEsrog. That wasn't actually accurate. Don't worry. That was a joke. V'lig Bahia LeEsrog. So why not just lift up the S? why not just why not just lift the esrog higher? So and then you can make the bracha on esrog shkoyach, right? It's kind of like the little guy that you lift up to slam dunk, right? So no, Amarle Hoel Uvamino Gavua Gavoa Mikula. No, it doesn't mean that you're holding it higher. It means that it is by definition a taller plant, a taller item than an esrog. Okay, although you take some of those really big esrog, you some of the really small lulav, and it might be a close call. But bigadol, it's the lulav is taller. Okay, Mishnah, right? The Mishnah. So how would they, or when I should say, when would we do these na'anuim? So with the by the Hodul Hashem and by the Anu Hashem Moshiach. Beishamai Omrim, Af Anu Hashem Hatzlichana. Beishamai says not only Anu Hashem Moshiach, even Hashem Hatzlichana. Rabbi Akiva. Sofa Hayisi Rabbi Gamliel Rabbi Yeshua Shekol Ha'am Hayu Menadin Es Lulavan. Behem Lonanu Ella Ba'Anu Hashem Moshiach. As I saw by Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua that everyone would shake their lulavin all the time, and they would only shake it by Anu Hashem Moshiach. Okay, so as we know, that is correct, not Hatzlichana. As we know, sorry, correct, including and Hodul Hashem. Right. So as we know, that is of course the halacha. So says the Gemara, Nanua man dachar shmei. What? Where is this whole concept of Nanuim coming from? Right? How do we know that? So Hasam Kai, Kol Lulav Shies Rosh Tzachim, Gedel Neabo, the Mishnah that you all had earlier had said that any lulav which has 3 tefachim, Kedei Lenaneabo is kosher. In order, right, 3 tefachim of space, meaning correct, but it's 4 tefachim total, 3 tefachim, 1 tefach, 1 tefach. Correct. Meaning, but there needs to be 3 tefachim worth kedei lenaneabo to be able to shake it. 4 minutes. 3 of which 1 can be thick. You know how it's. We're talking about the thick part versus the part that you can shake. Yeah. No. Right. So very good. Yeah. No, 100%. You need 4, but 3 and 1, right? That's why it's like you said, it needs to be able to go above. Okay. The Ka'amar Heichon Menanin. So now, therefore, okay. So that says Kedelin Aneabo, and now we're talking about Heichon Menanin. Therefore, we can ask based off of that. Okay, so what's the when do we shake? Right? So it's nan hasam. Shtei halechem ushnei kivsei atzeris. Ketzad hu osa. So we have another mission that said that we have another case of nanuim. Right? If you have the shtei halechem and the shnei kivsei atzeris, the 2 loaves of bread that were brought on Shavuos, and the shnei kivsei atzeris, the 2 shlomim that were brought on Shavuos as well. Ketzad hu osa. What's the process that they would do with them? They would take the shtei halechem and place them upon the 2 kivasim. And then the Kohen and they would do this whole process that they would put their hands underneath both of the shtei halechem and the shnei kivasim. Umenif umolich umevi male umori. Right, and then they would do all these. They would wave it and out and back and up and down. The Shenemar Asher Hunaf Asher Huram. As the pasuk says that they would wave it and lift it up. Amar B'Yochanan. So what was the process then of the Nanuim? Amar B'Yochanan Molish Umevi Lemisha Arba Ruchos Shalo Mal Umorit Lemisha Shemayim Ve'aret Shalo. That you would go ahead and go out and in for those Lemisha Arba Ruchos Shalo, Kodesh Baruch Hu, obviously, and then Mal Umorit Lemisha Shemayim Ve'aret Shalo, and that right. So the out and in. And side to side refer to the 4 directions that HaKadosh Baruch Hu rules over, and up and down refers to Shemayim V'aretz, that is Shalom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But Marava Masnu Hachi, and there they would say as follows: Amar B'Chama Baruch Amar B'Yosef Rabbi Chanina Molith Umevi Kedei Latzor Ruchos Raos, right? That it would be out and in to stop all of the bad spirits, right? That would be going from every direction. Malu Moritz Latzor Tzwolin Ra'im. And they would go up and down in order, right, as a symbolism to stop the bad dew, the bad rain from Shemayim and from up and down. Amar Yosef Bar Avin, Timur Yosef Bar Svila, Zos Omeris, Shiyare Mitzvah Me'akvin Esapuranis. So we see that if we have all the symbolism with the Nanuim, right, which we know the Nanuim are not part of the Iker Mitzvah, the Nanuim are the Hosafa, or the Shiyari mitzvahs, as the Gemara calls them, right? The addition to the mitzvah, right? The Iker mitzvah is the taking itself, right? So these these superfluous parts of the mitzvah still are so powerful that they can be ma'akinas the Puranos, right? That's why we have the Nanum in those directions. They could withhold the Puranos. Yeah. Well, that was the two. Right? Well, that's the two opinions, right? The first opinion was that, right, that the directions are the Misha Arba Ruchel Shalom, and up and down is also the Misha Shamayim Ba'art Shalom. So that opinion is that it's all referring, it's a symbolism to show us God's presence. The second opinion, right, of Rabbi Yossi Barabin, the second opinion of Rabbi Chama, right, was that it's Ma'akvinas Puranos, right, to go forward and back in order to La'atzor Ruchos Ra'os, and up and down La'atzor Telolim Ra'im, so which is all saying for right the Puranos. So we say, so we see that the lulav is going in all different directions with the symbolism according to Rabbi Chama about stopping the Telolim Ra'im and the Ruchos Ra'os means that what these additional parts of the mitzvah are Ma'akinas Puranos are stopping the Puranos. Right? Because we see that these the waving is additional parts of the mitzvah, and it stops the these bad winds and bad spirits and bad dew. The Amarava, v'chein belulav, it's the same thing with lulav also to what's it called? The same weaving with the lulav. Rav Acha Bar Yaakov Mamtila, right? Meaning just like that was the case for the shlamim and the shtei lechem on Shavua, so too on lulav. Rav Acha Bar Yaakov Mamtila umaisila. Rav Acha Bar Yaakov would go out and in, and Amar, and when he would go out and in, meaning when he would do the nanuim out and in, Amar, he would say as follows: Dain Gera be'ine desitna. He would say something verbally, right? He's like a kid in a video game, right? That this is going into the eyes of the satan. The lav milsi mishum to us to the degree, but don't do that. Not a good idea, because once you start up, right? Al tigar bo satan, we don't want to mess. Don't trash talk, because the satan can trash talk you even better. Have a great day on that note.